was from 9 a.m. to midnight on Saturday nights. And you had to keep a coal stove going, and if you heard an airplane, you would phone into Buffalo, and they would keep track of the planes as they flew across the country. That building now is the Playhouse down at the Norman's.
Okay, now was there a doctor that lived there where Begums live, or no?
No, no.
Where'd the Playhouse, or where the observatory come from, though?
I'm not really sure where it was.
Okay, was it moved there by
Yeah, it
Begums?
was moved there. On second thought, I think that was a gas station for a short time. Yeah, I know it was a gas station office down in, right in front of the hotel. Somebody tried to have a gas station there
In front of what hotel?
in Reed Corners.
So there were actually 2 gas stations?
Yeah, at one time. Do you want to shut that door now? Or?
Between the 2 rooms?
Yeah.
Yes, why don't I do it carefully, and you can continue to talk.
Okay. All during the war, I'm about from age, trying to stop it for some
No,
reason.
go ahead.
About the age of 13 to 18, I had a chicken project, and I raised about 450 chickens. I did very well on it. Sometimes I'd make as much as $1,500 a year, which was a lot of money then. And there were a lot of work. I kept some of the chickens in what's now the heifer barn and some in another building. I had to feed them and gather the eggs, clean and pack the eggs for shipment. I had to come home from school on the early bus, and there wasn't much time for anything but school and my chicken egg project. There was not much time for sports or other fun activities. By the end of the war, in 1945, when I graduated from high school in 1946. By then the chicken enterprise was not profitable, so I gave it up. And I worked on the farm during the growing season. In the first winter out of school, I went to work for the Shuron Optical Company in Geneva, and made about 80 cents an hour, which gave me a check of about $28 a week. After 3 or 4 months, I went to work for Royer & Son in the wholesale live poultry business. They lived next door, and they had 3 trucks with 4 to 6 men working. We picked up chickens in the area and delivered them to Rochester and Buffalo and Syracuse. We also made trips to the Delaware and Maryland and Virginia for young chickens that were called broilers, and took them to Rochester and Buffalo and New York City. Thanksgiving and Christmas, we made trips to the Watertown area in the North Country to pick up truckloads of turkeys, and brought them back and sold them in the different cities. It was hard, dirty work with long hours, but I had a great bunch of guys I worked with, and that was a lot of fun. I was paid $1 an hour, and we usually worked 12 or 14 hours a day, and sometimes 70 to 80 hours a week. I was making very good money for those days, and I had little time to spend it, which was good. I did this for about 7 winters.
Okay, we have about 6 minutes left, I think, if I'm looking at the machine carefully, but why don't you continue and just keep an eye on your watch.
Okay.
Or give me your watch, and I'll know about when we're going to be done. We won't completely finish, but we'll get within 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay. At age 19, I bought out my grandfather's share of the farm by paying him so much a year. The money I made from Royers was a big help with the payments, as you can remember. About 1950, Dad and I formed a partnership, and we started in the dairy business by putting up a silo and building a milk house and buying some cows. In 1951, I married Dorothy Hubbard, first 2 years we were married, Dorothy taught school in Phelps. And then Steve was born to be followed in later years by Carol and Kathy. In later years, Dorothy went back to teaching at the Gorham Elementary School. In 1954, Dad and I purchased the Henry farm from Tom and Marge Henry. That gave us a total of 250 acres. And
What'd you pay for the Henry farm, you know?
I don't remember right now, I'd have to look it up, but it wasn't very much by today's standards. Dad and Mom moved into the Henry house, and our family of 5 took over the north half of the farmhouse. As I said, we had 250 acres of land then. We'd added to the barn and were milking about 40 cows with about 45 head of young stock. The years that followed were very busy with kids growing up and always lots of work on the farm. But we had fun too, a number of trips such as 2 World's Fair in Florida, New England, New York State, 2 trips to California in 1964, excuse me, in 1968. There were also 16 summers that we had the use of the Stratton Lake lot on Fallbrook Park, and we all enjoyed that a lot. We had the right to keep a boat there and spent a lot of happy days there. How much longer?
I've got about 5 minutes. What do you have on the last
Well, I
page?
got that much and about that.
Okay, continue with what you got, and we may not have time for what I asked.
About 1968, I went to work for part-time for Farm Family Life Insurance as a part-time agent. I continued to milk cows and do the farm work as usual, but also had 3 or 4 evening appointments for insurance every week. This was kind of a tough schedule, but I was making extra money that we really needed. My experience in life insurance gave me the courage to go into the real estate business. In 1971, Dad and I sold the cows, and I started working full-time for Candidacy North Realty. About a year and a half later, I'd become a broker, and Glenn Benjamin and I bought out Candidacy North Realty and became partners. We opened the office at 343 North Main Street. In June of 1984, Dorothy died, and I continued to live in the farmhouse. March 5th, 1988, I married Rita Nielsen, and we remodeled and redecorated the farmhouse quite a lot. 1990 was a big year. We built a home in Bonita Springs, Florida, and on August 31st, I became 62, and that day I retired from the real estate business. Rita and I plan to spend 6 months in Florida and 6 months in New York State.
What were your thoughts when we had the auction? Gans conducted the auction of the remaining farm implements and a lot of the household goods in September of this year.
Well, I had mixed reaction. It was kind of a trip down a sentimental lane because everything that was picked up and held up and sold, I had memories, but I knew it was something that we needed to do, and it was, as long as we were contemplating selling the farms and the houses, it was something that had to be done, and it was okay.
What was the most enjoyable part of your adolescent years?
Well, I
What did
think
you enjoy the most?
growing up on the farm, the closeness to my family, I enjoyed it a lot, and I think it did me a lot of good with the environment I was raised in. I did have other children to play with, even though I was an only child, and I kind of had the best of both worlds. I had parents who I was very close to, and I benefited greatly by living in the same house with older people like my grandparents.
What did you like the least of your adolescent years?
remember anything that really stuck out and bothered me, Steve.
Okay, how about, you enjoyed the most and enjoyed the least of your adulthood?
Well, I guess the thing I enjoyed the least was as farming become less popular and less profitable. That was something that I didn't care a lot about. In my last few years of farming, I kept track of the hours I put in and the money I was making, and it figured out to a real low figure.
What do you remember, a farm economist checked it for you, didn't he?
Yeah, and
What did it come out to?
I think I was making maybe 40 or 50 cents an hour, and I figured I could do most anything and make more money than that. And I was, just didn't seem to be going anywhere and not getting ahead, and so I guess that was the part that really bothered me. I used to take the Sunday paper and spread it out on the living room floor and go through the want ads trying to figure out what there was in there that Bob Mumby could do to make some money and be happy, because I wasn't really that happy farming.
Weren't that happy farming it because the returns weren't that much, or because you didn't enjoy it that much anyway?
A little of both, Steve. And the other thing was, by that time I began to get into the insurance business, and I found I loved working with people. I liked sales, and so it gave me the courage and interest to go on and do something different.
Okay, what goals have you met in your life?
Well, I guess one of the goals was to leave farming and get into something that I could get ahead both financially and also in a way that gave me a lot more satisfaction and a lot more enjoyment, and also put me in a better position for retirement and the final years of my life.
What goals have you not attained?
Well, I don't think of anything right now that I've got that I really want to do. The goals I've got from here on out is to enjoy the family, enjoy Rita, and do some traveling and get the most out of every day that I've got.
What advice do you have to my 2 and Kathy's 3, and any kids that Carol might have, in terms of something you've learned along the way that is good advice?
Well, I don't know if it's good advice, but the observation I'd make is that don't be afraid to set a goal. Don't be afraid to try to do something else if you feel that it'll better yourself. Don't be afraid to take a chance. You can be surprised at what you can do if you try. And don't lack the courage to reach out for something. If you see something that's going to be good for you and something that's important, go for it. I guess that's, don't be content if you feel that you can do better. And I think one of the important things is to have some goals, because if you don't have a goal, you don't have anything to reach for.
Okay. Anything else in summary that you want to mention?
Well, I can't think of anything dynamic. I guess I've said it all as far as what's going on.
Okay, I think we have just a couple more minutes left. I can remember one large pond and one smaller pond out in the pasture. What happened to the ponds?
Well, you mean where you used to skate,
Yeah.
when you were a little kid?
Right.
They pretty well got all grown up with brush, so that I'm sure they're still there. But you see, when you remember them, there were cattle pastured out of there, and they kept all the brush and stuff down.
Okay.
So with no animals out there, it's just the brush is kind of taken over, and they aren't there, so you can see them anymore.
Did you mention Shuron Optical? I
Yes.
can't remember if you did. Okay.
No, that's
All
where
right.
I worked for 80 cents an hour
Okay.
for 40 hours a week, and
Okay.
didn't make much money.
I thank you, and hopefully everything taped okay, and we'll see
Okay,
how things look.